Hello and welcome to my channel where we talk about tips and tricks for teaching elementary music. Stop! What's going on? I'm stressed. You can talk about whatever you were going to talk about in another video. We're going to talk about stress today. So move on over. Cue the jingle. Today, I want to get real. I want to talk about how you deal with stress while you're teaching elementary music. This could apply to teachers of many different disciplines. I will be saying many things that a lot of teachers could probably relate to, whether you're an elementary teacher in the classroom, like a first grade teacher, or whether you're a high school English teacher. I will also be including information on elementary music specifically. It is, as I am filming this, late August, and I just had my first 2 days back to work, and they were professional development, and I just realized how very stressed out I was over the whole process. So in case there's other people that are feeling stressed like I am, I decided instead of talking about actual instruction, tips, and tricks for the elementary music room, that I would talk about how to deal with stress. So I want to tell you a story about a supervisor that I had years ago who used to say this to the elementary music team quite often. She probably said it to the secondary folks as well. And that was, sometimes you just got to shut your door and teach. And that really stuck in my head. And then a few years after she said it the first time, or maybe a year or two after she said it the first time, we were at this big convention center with the whole district, teachers, bus drivers, administration, the people from downtown, etc., etc. And she got up there and spoke, and she said, sometimes you just got to shut the door and teach. And I remember thinking how great it was for her to say it, not only because she said it to us, and we're all teachers and we could understand that. And of course, she was a teacher before she was a supervisor. But when she said it in front of all the people from downtown, some of which, if they've been in a classroom, it might have been a while. And then bus drivers and cafeteria workers and custodial staff and everybody out there, she said it in front of all of them. And I just felt that that was really empowering, that she acknowledged that teachers can be very stressed out. And it's probably not about the things that you think we're stressed out about. So let me start by saying, I love teaching. I love that act of imparting my knowledge to somebody and watching the light bulb moment go off and watching a student who figures out how to play that instrument that they've been struggling with, or all of a sudden gets intonation just right and they're right there where they're supposed to be. I love that act of teaching. I love sharing with college students that come in for observations or student teachers. I love it when administration comes in my room and they can see that we do more than just sing songs in my classroom. I love teaching. That's one of the reasons that I started this video channel. What I don't like are all the things that come with teaching. Let me explain what I mean by that a little bit further. Okay, so when it comes to my videos that I'm making here, I do have some things that I have to do. I don't just turn the camera on and that's it. I have to pick a topic. I have to create visuals. I have to film. Get these further out of the way. Make room for my actual camera work. I have to edit, and I have to publish. So there's definitely things that I have to do in order to prepare these videos for you. However, it's not a lot. I'm still quite free to do what I want. There's not a lot of, there's nobody that I need to answer to as far as lesson plans or objectives or anything like that. So let's look at what happens when it comes to just the act of teaching, just what is involved in teaching itself. There are certain objectives that you have to cover, so you need to pick out your objectives first when you're starting your planning process. Then I choose songs and activities. Then I need to arrange my ostinatos. So if you're not a music teacher, this would be maybe where you go and you figure out your manipulatives or your worksheets if it's a written work. I need to create my visuals. So in the case of music, that would be charts and notated patterns. I need to write my lesson plans. I will have to deal with classroom management while I'm teaching. Eventually, I will have to assess my students. And in the music world, we will have performances that we have to put on. Okay, all of these things are involved in teaching. Sometimes they could be stressful, sure. The performances in particular can be very stressful because they take a lot of your time and energy. But if you plan accordingly, you can make it all happen. Okay, so now let's look at another slide. We've got the original teaching things that I told you were involved. And now you get to see all of those things that surround it that can be very stressful on teachers. So first of all, we're going to look at things that have to do with student safety. Absolutely, they're necessary. You have to have fire drills. You have to have lockdown drills. You have to have tornado drills. You have to have bus duty. You have to have hall duty. You have to have these things because these are the things that keep students safe. It's necessary when you're working with children that you have these things in place to keep them safe. But they still eat into your instruction time and eat into your planning time. The duty eats into your planning time, and all those drills will eat into your instruction time. And then sometimes it's difficult to get the students back on track after that unexpected drill, and now they have to go right back in the room after having been in a different location, being outside in the cold, let's say if it's a fire drill, and now they have to refocus. So you will lose instruction time for that, but they are definitely necessary. Then we have the things that are required from administration, and not just principal administration, but administration of the district. They want you to be offering data collection and behavioral objectives and SMART goals, which prove that you know how to create student progress in your class and that your students are learning. IEPs are required to make sure that students have the correct accommodations that they need to learn. All of these things are important. It shows other people that you are teaching these students and that they are growing and learning. And then there's professional development and child study meetings and faculty meetings and grade level meetings. All of these will eat into your time. You have to leave. If a child study meeting usually happens during actual class time, and somebody will come in and cover your class while you go into these meetings. These meetings are necessary, but they do eat into that act of teaching that I love, that most people went into teaching to do. It eats into all of that time. Professional development is not always tailored to your specific needs. It may be a fantastic professional development. It might be something you've heard before, and it might be something that doesn't apply to you, which happens a lot to those of us that teach the non-academic disciplines, but they are things that we are required to go to. And that is to prove that you are growing beyond just that degree that you got, that you are continuing to hone your skills and learn better best practices. Faculty meetings, you do have to have those. You have to learn what the new system might be that's going to be in place. You have to learn expectations. You need to go to those things. Grade level meetings, in the world of resource, music, art, and PE, this doesn't happen very often because the disciplines are so different that we might not meet as a grade level. But a classroom teacher, a first grade teacher, would have to meet at grade level meetings weekly, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. It just depends on how they set it up. And all of that eats into any time that they might personally be planning things out for their students. Field trips. That could take half a day right there. And you get back and the students are wiped out because maybe they walked all around like at the zoo or something. They might be hot, they might be tired, they might not be able to focus on work. And so it does eat into your actual instruction time. Are field trips necessary? Sure. It's great for students to get out there and see other things that they might not otherwise see if they didn't go on a particular field trip. They do learn from field trips. Sometimes you'll get a student that will learn more from a field trip than they would learn just sitting in your class watching a video about animals from Africa. Let's say if they could go to the zoo and see the African exhibit, they would learn so much more seeing them up close. Assemblies, they also eat into your time. You can see it's starting to get a little crowded in here, isn't it? And then you got parent contact. You have to communicate with parents if there's behavior issues, for sure. If there's students that are failing, you need to reach out to the parents. You don't want it to be a surprise on the report card. So all of these things are those extra things that are outside of that original set of teaching things, which are ranging, ostinatos, classroom management objectives, lesson plans, all of that. That's definitely needed for teaching. And all of these things, I honestly have no way around them. I am not advocating for any of these things to go away. They all have their uses, and some of them are very necessary. Some of them are mandated, either federally or state, and people that are going into the teaching profession just need to be aware that it is not the ideal situation where you know that you're going to have to do these things in a classroom. You're going to have all these extra factors around you as long as you stay in the teaching profession. Once you learn how to work with these factors, they become very manageable. But one of the reasons that I'm stressed out, there's been new things added to this list. Wearing masks during instruction and during singing, which is an even harder task, as you can imagine, than just talking with a mask on. Making sure that you have all of the PPE that you might need in order to prevent any health issues. Cleaning instruments in between students. Recorders. Can we? Yes, no, maybe. How do we do it? Is it even a good idea in the first place? Performances. Can we have an audience? Can we put students on the stage? And hey, who put out the lights? Hello? Is anybody there? All of that leads to a lot of stress. Now I want to talk about how that affects elementary music in particular. Here is another factor that can be stressful. If you are an elementary music teacher, you are the only one in your building that does what you do. That means you can't walk to somebody else in the building and say, I'm struggling with teaching this rhythm to my students. Can you give me a little tip? Do you have a trick here? You can't walk to another colleague and say, hey, do you know a song that might be about this topic? I really want to do this with my students. There's nobody in the building that you can go to for that. If you look at this diagram that I have up here, this is what education really looks like to a music teacher. The green squares represent all of the academic educators and administration, because administration is right up there with academic educators. Even if they are different grade levels, if they are academic teachers, they are all doing the same types of things with the way they write their lesson plans, the amount of grading that they have to do, the amount of data collection that they have to do, all the education language that they use, whole group instruction, differentiation, small groups, peer tutoring, reciprocal teaching, all of that, academia, that's what those squares are. They make room for the music teacher. They left a space for the music teacher, and the music teacher is sitting in that square represented by that yellow square with the purple circle. But as you can tell, the circle does not fill the square, because teaching music is not anything like teaching math, science, social studies, or language arts. Let's look at this screen. So there are other people in your building, if you're an elementary music teacher, that are also the only people in their building that do their particular discipline. For example, this could represent the art teacher. This could represent the PE teacher. Maybe this is the media specialist. There are definitely other people in your building that do not match exactly the educational, academic, here's how we teach, and this is what we should see in each and every classroom. And this is how I want you to write your lesson plan because this is how we teach. These people don't line up to that either. So it is a very, very, very good idea to get to know those people in your building, and you can form your own team to support each other with, okay, they were talking about differentiation in the faculty meeting today. I'm not sure how to do that in my class. I'm not even sure I 100% understand what that means. Do any of you guys have any ideas? And you can bounce ideas off of each other that way. And you can kind of pull each other along to try to fit better into those squares than in whatever your shape is. However, you are still the only music person in your building. You need to make sure that you find a way to reach out to other music teachers, whether it's through social media or, more importantly, in your district. My district has a wonderful elementary music department. We meet regularly, about once a month or so, and we are very collaborative. I have taken many songs from programs for everyday use. I've taken different systems that people have used for classroom management, for the way to hold instruments in rest position. So many different ideas that I've picked up from my fellow elementary music educators. They are your go-to people in your district, even though it's great to get into a social media group and everything, and that's fantastic because you will learn a lot of ideas there. But if you can get closer to the ones that are actually in your district, because they're dealing with the same exact objectives as you are, they're dealing with the same district parameters on things, the same grading system, all of that, and they would be a much better resource if you could have it to be able to get with them and collaborate. So the ovals that you see over on the side there, they are representative of secondary music. So in middle school and high school, you probably have, in most schools, a chorus teacher, a band teacher, and an orchestra teacher. So that's why I did 3 different colors there. But if you notice, they're all ovals because middle school and high school band, orchestra, chorus, they all run their classrooms pretty much the same way. They're all ensembles. So all the teachers are conductors. They all have to do score study. They all have concerts. A lot of them have competitions. So they can interact in that respect a lot easier than I can with the art teacher in my building, say, for example. Even though they may not have the exact discipline, they speak the same language. If the chorus teacher is having an issue with a particular song, teaching her students a rhythm in the song, they certainly can go over to the band teacher and ask them if there's any way that they can give them a tip about how to do that particular rhythm with the chorus kids, because the band teacher has a whole percussion section that they work with constantly, And they may have a little tip that the course teacher had never thought about before to get their course on track with the rhythms. So they can be very collaborative that way. They can even share duties in concerts and stuff if they wanted to combine their concerts together. That way they're not putting on one concert by themselves and having to do all of the many, many things that you have to do to put on a concert. They're kind of sharing the load, whereas that elementary music teacher is still by themselves. Okay, so all of those things can make your stress level just go here very, very quickly. So how do we deal with that? How do we combat the stress that comes with teaching in general, and teaching being the only teacher in your building that knows what you do, and not having somebody to have that immediate bounce off an idea of as far as your actual instruction? Well, the first thing is, like I said, make sure that you have collaboration with other people that do what you do. If you can get with the teachers that are in your actual district that do that same job as you, they are going to be your best choice, because it will be a lot like in your own building when you have like 5 first grade teachers and they all work together as a team. It will be very similar to that, because those first grade teachers, one of the reasons they work so well together as a team, yes, they're in the same building and their classrooms are next to each other, but they also share planning ideas. Sometimes they actually share plans. Sometimes they share manipulatives, etc., etc. So if you could do that with fellow elementary music teachers in your district, that would be ideal. If for some reason that just does not work, then definitely go onto social media, look up YouTube videos, go onto Facebook groups, go onto Twitter, follow people, etc., etc. So that's that first step, is making sure you have that support group. So there are plenty more things that you can do that really don't have much to do with work, and that is getting enough sleep, doing self-care, whatever that looks like for you. If it's exercise, if it's binge watching television, if it's eating your favorite food. Self-care can also include spending time with your family and friends. It can be just going and being alone somewhere for a while if you need to be, or reading a book, or going and getting a massage. Whatever works for you that makes you feel happy, relaxed, and recharged in order to go back and do your job to become the best music educator you can for your students. Leave work at work. I'm serious. Leave work at work. Now, a lot of people, if you're watching this video and you are not an elementary music educator, you might be saying, of course they leave their work at work. They don't have papers to take home and grade. Their lesson plans aren't as extensive as mine. They don't have nearly enough, stress to do all that sort of stuff. I will not in any way say that I have as much work to do as an academic teacher. I know I don't. But I will tell you that I have enough work to do that I can't always get it done in the 7 hours and 20 minutes every day that I'm supposed to have it done. So I will pick a day that I will stay a little bit later, or I will stay a little bit later a couple days, or I will plan a project ahead of time. I wear many, many hats while I'm putting programs on, and that is a long process and a lot of work. So there is plenty of work for me to do that takes me outside of that 7 hour and 20 minute day. So I've learned a long time ago, if it means I need to stay an hour, hour and a half after work one day to knock some things out so that I am not writing lesson plans or doing other visual creations or looking for songs or anything else on a Saturday or Sunday, then that's what I'm going to do. So you leave your work at work. Take your personal days. It is so easy to just say, you know what? I don't really have a reason. I don't have like a wedding I have to go to, or my car didn't break down and I have to spend it in the shop, and it's just too hard because I have to write sub plans, and if the subs aren't available, then my team has to cover me and I feel guilty about that. I'm right there with you. I have all those thoughts and feelings, but take your personal days. They are there for you to take your personal days. You need that break sometimes. Whether it's you take a 3-day weekend and go out of town, or whether you just need a mental health day that day, take your personal days. It's okay if things aren't perfect. Let me specifically talk about the first month of school. The first month of school is such an adjustment for me personally. I have to build up my energy, my endurance, my strength, because I don't spend all summer long standing all day long. I don't spend all summer long talking all day long. I don't spend all summer long having to run from here and there, not being able to use the bathroom immediately when I need it. All of those things that teachers have to deal with. I don't spend my summer doing that. So it takes some time to get back in that groove. Imagine, if you will, an 18-wheeler that has been driving on flat roads for quite a few hours, and now here comes the hill, and of course they're going to slow down just because of what they are, and it's a struggle sometimes to get up to the top of that hill. But once they get up to the top of that hill, there's going to be another plateau, and they'll be driving on a plateau for quite a while after that. That's what that first month of school feels like. You've been in the summertime where you've been going along like this, and now you're back in school, and it takes a little bit of time for you to get up to where you're okay. I got my energy back. I've got my endurance. I've got it in the groove. I'm ready to go. My voice is back in shape. After talking so much and singing so much, it finally kicked in where I can endure and I'm able to do what I need to do. So it is okay if things aren't perfect. It's okay if things aren't perfect in your classroom, and it's okay if things aren't perfect in your house or in your personal life while you're adjusting to getting back in the groove of things and learning how to deal with all those stressors so that you can be an effective teacher. Learn to say no. There are some things you cannot say no to. All of those little text boxes that I had up there with meetings and SMART goals and lesson plans and all of those sorts of things, you can't say no to those. They come with the job. But you can say no to other things that might be asked of you that are outside of your wheelhouse, that are outside of your contracted area. If you feel like you can't do it and you don't have the time or the energy to do it, you can say no to things that are not required of you for your job. You just have to learn to say it. And sometimes that's difficult. Here's something that I'm just amazed that I have to remind myself of. It just amazes me that as a music educator, that I have to remind myself that there is power in music. Don't forget that. Now, I will say that at the end of a day, when I leave my classroom and I go and get in my car and I drive home, I can't listen to music on the way home. I just can't. I've been doing it all day long. I need to either have quiet or make a phone call to somebody or listen to the news. I just can't do the music. Unfortunately for me, that sometimes translates into I get to the weekend and I don't listen to music either. And when I think about it, that makes me kind of sad, because one of the reasons that I went into music education is that I love music. I love the way music can transport you someplace. I love the way music can heal your feelings. I love the way music can calm you. I love the way music can match your excitement. I love the way music can give you energy. I love all of those things, whether it's just listening to it, whether it's performing it. Music has the ability to transform you. And we as educators get so wrapped up in teaching all day long, and sometimes we just want to tune out the music from our lives. Don't do that. You need the music to come back into your life just for fun, not as background noise, not as analyzing it, not as preparing something, not as teaching something, but let that music wash back over you and remind you why you fell in love with music in the first place. That will do a lot to heal you. Okay, my friends, I hope that this video helped you to see where all your stress is probably coming from and helped you to realize that it's going to take some time to adjust to it, but you will get there, and maybe you learn some tips for how to de-stress. If you are an elementary music teacher, come on back to my channel and don't forget to subscribe, where you can learn some actual tips and tricks for teaching elementary music. Thanks, and have a wonderful, stress-free day.